about that. All right, we should be able to see it coming up right now. Where you can export your bill of materials and import it into the Alps controls, minimal keystrokes. The reason for that, and one of the benefits is when you have to place an order for a large volume of products, it eliminates the errors that could happen from fat fingering quantities or part numbers, because basically what you're doing is you're taking your engineering files, your bill of materials that you've created on there, and just sucking it up into the Alps system with your mouse. So there's no one keying in individual line items. So we've had this tool for almost a decade.
List Manager and Uploader.
But some customers use it, but surprisingly what we're finding out is a lot of people aren't aware that this is here. So let me give you an example of what we're going to do. I have an example bill of material, as you see here, which you'll see there's the quantity columns, a listing of a lot of different parts from a lot of different manufacturers, typical descriptions and vendors. And then I have a second tab of valves. And they're all individual quantity ones because they're individually tagged. Okay, so they're all quantity ones, same tags in there. So imagine, so we got like 56 valves individually tagged, and then an additional 45 different line items. And ask yourself, how long would that take you to get that into either a shopping cart or get that into a system that you're going to do something with it later? If you key them in separately as individual items, I would imagine it would take at least 30 minutes. So we're able to do this. If you use this tool and you use it enough where you kind of know where to go, you could do that in 5 minutes with our website. And I'm going to demonstrate that now. So from here, if you want to activate and see where the lists are, you would go to your account screen and there's an area called lists. When you click on lists, you're going to note that there are, if you have existing lists, they're going to be noted right here. These are all open existing lists that somebody in your organization has imported into Alps controls. You'll see who created it and the date of it and whatever the name of the list that you give it, and then how many products there are, the total quantity. And this is just a sampling of the parts that are in there. It's not all of them. So you'll see that here. So this is where it's at. If you want to, you can archive lists if they're done, and you can actually always go back to that from any time period. If you created a list 5 years ago, it would still be here if you wanted to do it. Maybe you have to reactivate something that a job is put on hold for 4 months, and you don't want to have it sit there. You can archive it, and then you can reactivate it. But for this purpose here, what we're going to want to do is, how do we import a brand new list? So from the list feature, we're going to click on lists. And this gives you the very, very simple instructions on what we need from you to get your bill of materials into our system. It's very simple. We need 3 columns. We need part number in column 1, the quantity in column 2, and then in column 3, we need the tags if it's a taggable item like a valve. If it's a relay or a temperature sensor that's not tagged, you can just leave it blank. Once you have those 3 columns, just save it as a tab delimited text file, and then you can import it into the website. Okay. We are working on, the IT department is working on accepting any kind of file, whether it's Excel or whatever. But for right now, for today's purpose, it has to be a TXT file, which is one of the standard save as files that we have. So seeing this, let me go back to what we're having here. What I would normally do is I open up a blank Excel document. I just copy and paste. That way I'm not manipulating the bill of material. So to save for time purposes, I've already done that. You will see here in column 1 are all of my part numbers. Column 2 are all of my quantities. And column 3 are all of the tags if it's a taggable item. These are all temperature sensors and relays and things like that, so they're blank. So I set that up. I hit save as and save it as a TXT file, as material demo. So I'm going to go back, and I've fulfilled all of the requirements here. I saved it on my desktop so it's easy to find. Simply choose the file, click on the material demo, choose, and now I'm going to upload it. I'm going to create it. Now there's 2 ways you can create this for visibility reasons. You can make it a private list where you as the user is the only one that will see this list and can manipulate it. I don't know of anybody that uses that, but by default it's a company public list, which means if I upload a list, Gabo or Jason or anybody in my company who has a login to my site, to Alps Controls, can view the list. So let me click create. No, oh, I should put a name in here. Let's go Heinz Field. Go Steelers. Create list. I'm sorry, I'm going to name it. So this will take less than a minute. It may seem longer, but depending on the size of the material list, it could take anywhere between 10 seconds to a minute. So I'm going to pause here. Let me see if there's any questions real quick. No, we're good. Okay. There. Now what I've done is I've taken that bill of materials that was exported from your engineering files, changed it to what we need, and just sucked it all up into the Alps Controls website right now. So what you're going to see here is all of the parts, part numbers, and the reason why it takes a minute or so to upload is any part numbers that are exactly correct. The way the manufacturer wants to see them, our website is matching the part number you have to an actual catalog item in our site. So it's going to take a little bit of time. And if it is perfect, there's nothing else you need to do with that part number. For instance, these brave valves or these BAPI items are exactly the way we want. It's done. It matched it. It found your unit cost. These aren't your prices. I'm on a demo site, but these are a unit cost, the quantities, your extended costs. It's grouped everything together by manufacturer right here, the total quantity of products for that manufacturer, and the total volume per manufacturer. So there's BAPI, there's Cleveland, Connect Air, here's some functional. We have 127 items for this much, all the way down. Okay, so it's consolidated all the parts into the manufacturers. The other thing it does, if you remember, the valve schedule was all individual line items because they were individually tagged. Our site recognizes all of the exact same part numbers, so there were 7 line items that had this part number. It consolidated those 7s into one line item, consolidated all 7 tags, and grouped them together in a single line item. That way, we're not looking at 150 line item material list. Makes it a much more manageable material list to look at on Alps Controls. Okay. The other thing you'll notice on this screen is that all of the documentation that we have on our website for every product that you have in the material list is over on the left-hand side. So if you need a documentation or a spec sheet from a part on your job, you can find it right here without having to search for it later on by typing in the part number. Specification sheets, installation sheets for the BAPI item. If we get on to, let's say, the contemporary controls router, you got a user manual, all kind, whatever we have on our website will be attached here for every part. So it's consolidated here. The other thing you can do on the screen is if you did need to change quantity, you can say, no, I don't need 12 of those, I need 20. And as fast as lightning, it'll adjust your quantity and your price right there. So I didn't need 12, I need to alter that, we've added some more. So here's your unit cost, it adjusted that. Maybe I don't need the DIN rail, I can remove it and it's gone, okay? So you can edit it here. We also give you information about, if there's any standard free shipping or, used with an aspiration, any kind of notes we're gonna put here. So these are all found products that are on our website. If there is a part number that you had that you've engineered for, and you put the part number together from your file, and it's incorrect, maybe you're missing a dash, or you're missing the inches sign on a BAPI duct sensor, or whatever it might be, it's going to fall to the bottom as a non-catalog part. But don't fret about that. There's a very easy way to match these up. If it's a cataloged item, we know that Onicon, Alps Control sells Onicon. If you just click on with your mouse, find product, our website will find in alphanumerical order the closest matches to the part number you had. So here's the Onicon flow meter insertion. That's what it is. With my mouse, I'm clicking on this, and it'll bring up the products page here. From here, you can reconfigure the correct part number. We know, by the way, up at the top, we give you the original part number that you had, that you've engineered for, so you can always match it up. So I'm going to go back. I know it was an analog one. The reason why that part number didn't match is recently, last year, I think Onicon changed the way their part numbers were devised. It used to be an F1110, but now they use an F1100 series, and they put the 10 option for your analog. So we're going to go there. Everything's good. That's good. You have pipe size. We're going to say it's, the 2 to 10, and we're going to fill this out as schedule 40. We're going to go down. The flow rate is 800 GPM. We don't need a stack height. The temperature is 120 F. I'm just making stuff up. It's 6 inches. The job name is whatever. And then with your mouse, we're just clicking update. As you can see, the quantity remained 3, so it took the quantity from your file. It just didn't match up the part. So once you match that up, you don't have to worry about typing in a quantity or going back to see what it is, and it matched up. Now, when we go back to our list, you'll find Onicon with your pricing and the correct part number sitting right here. Here's your cost. So it matched up now. The way we see this happening is if an engineer's doing this and he sees the part number isn't quite right or it's changed, this would be the most opportune time for that person to go into his system and change and correct the part number. That way, the next material list they use for that same part, they won't have to correct it on Alps. It'll already be corrected the way the manufacturer wants to see it. Okay. The only other part is the other cool thing with our tool is you can add parts that aren't in Alps controls. I'm sure many of you have called my customer service department and have asked them, hey, I'm looking for a weird part. Can you source this? And we were able to source it. It might not be a manufacturer that we're buying directly from, but we were able to source it at a competitive price. So you wanted to order it from Alps. Let's say a Dell computer, job site computer you need, or whatever it might be. You can add that to the material list too. If you go to edit, it'll bring up a screen where you can manually add a part. So it's Dell, part numbers, whatever, Dell computer, and you can say job site computer. Whether you know the cost or not, we don't need it, but let's say you do. Let's say it's $500 and there's 5 of them. Save it to the list. Now from here, you've just added anything you want to this list. One single area for all of these products that you have. I've now imported, let's go all the way down to the bottom. Here's the Dell computer with that. I've just added 1,301 products for $96,000 into Alps Controls' website, which can be ordered right now, that fast. Everything's correct. The only time I ever touched my keyboard was to type in Schedule 40 and the stuff for the Onicon flow meter. Everything else, I used my mouse, so I didn't have to type in quantities. I didn't have to do anything. Does this make sense? Is this interesting? Anybody finding value already? There's a little bit more to come, which is the coolest parts of this thing, but I think this is a pretty cool tool and it's pretty quick. Okay, so now I'm done. So you can go home for the day. Somebody can log in. When they log into Alps Controls, they're going to their home page. Okay, if they go to their lists area, I called it Heinz Field. There's Heinz Field. I was the creator of it. It could have been anybody. Just a random listing of the parts that are in it, but here's the total, and they can go to the list. So this is where all your open lists are. So if you needed to find a list, let me show you a couple of things that you can do with this list to make it easier for somebody in your organization to find or access or whatever. There's a couple of things we can do. The first thing we can do is we can add tags to a list. They're like breadcrumbs. That's what we kind of call them. So let me open up this list, and I'm going to add a couple of tags, a couple of breadcrumbs. Right here, you can add a tag. You click on that. Any existing tags that were created for a list will show up here, so you don't have to keep retyping. So I'm going to say this is for Heinz Building 1. Click. Okay. Now there's a tag there. I'm going to add another tag saying whatever, ground floor. You can type a new one in, type it in, and then you got to click it to create it, and now it's there. Now I have 2 breadcrumbs here. You can add as many as you want or as little as you want. And what this does is when somebody goes to the lists area, if you use this and you find value in it, you could have 30 different lists because you might have projects that you don't need to order for or do anything with for 4 months, 6 months, right? But you want to get it into the system so you don't have to worry about it later. So you can come in there, and this could have, let's say, 20 different lists. You could easily go, well, I want to look at that. I want to look at all Heinz building lists. Okay, so I went from 8 to 3. Maybe I want to look at all Heinz lists that Jim created. Okay, I could search and filter these by creator, by tags. Okay, let's go with not only that, but I want to see the ground floor one. So we're looking at all Heinz Field and any that have ground floor. If I just take Heinz Field out, now it's just the Heinz Field that's ground floor. So it'll match anything you want from here. You can also just look at whoever created it. So let me click out of that. I'm going to look at the ones that Luke created. Here's the one he created. Or I want to look at just the ones that I created. So this is a simple way to filter through and find the list that you're looking for. Let me show you a couple other ways real quick. You can say, I don't know when or who created or anything like that, but I do know it was in February. So I'm going to look at all lists from February 1 to February 17th, apply, and there was just one. Or you could reset that to look at them all. There they all are. Or you could say, I just want to look at the list that had air products controls in it, the manufacturer. And there it is. So there's a lot of different ways you can find the list that you create. Tags, whoever created it, by manufacturer, by date. You can even do it by cost if you want a date, a cost range. Any questions on that? So those are how you search. Now let me show you a couple other things. So from here, when you open up a list, the difference between list and the project system, and we're not going to get into the project system, but that's for another day. A list is all or nothing. So when you create a list, you can only either order it all or order none of it. Okay, because it's just a list of material. You can move it to a project system, which is another webinar we're thinking about setting up, where that will allow you to order any quantity of any product from that project at a time. So you can order 3 of those BAPI duct sensors and nothing else, or just the butterfly valves and nothing else. And that project will keep track of everything. So I'm going to, at the end of this or tomorrow, we're going to send out a survey. We're going to ask you, it's going to be anonymous, but we're going to ask you just a few questions. It'll take you 2 minutes to do. And one of them would be, are you interested in the project system demo, which would take about 15 minutes for me to go over. It's much quicker because this is the legwork. So that would be one of them. So anyway, let's get back to the thing. So you can add this to the cart. I thought I clicked it, but I didn't. I'm going to open this up now. Again, it's 1,300 products, so it takes about 10 seconds. So from here, when you go to the cart, you can either copy or move. The difference between copy and move is if this is a list that you do not that you're going to need to use again, I would copy this to the cart. If you move it, which is a good choice to use if this is the only time you need it, because it'll clean up your lists, then it'll take everything out of here and move it to your cart. So I already did that because actually we have a little bit of an issue where it's taking 2.5 minutes to move this to a cart. IT is working on it there's some kind of little issue going on. Everything works, it just takes too long. But I shouldn't have done that. This is what it looks like. So this is that same list with all the parts. Here's my 7 with my 7 tags and everything else right there. So let me go back to the list. Okay, so Heinz Field. Another thing I want to show you here, which is I think the coolest thing, and with Alps Controls, what's nice about Alps Controls is we're so nimble that we do take your suggestions into account and if it makes sense, make changes to our site and how it acts. I have a customer out in the West that has multiple offices across several states, but they have a central purchasing person for them. So 3 people actually in one office. They do the ordering for all of the offices across, I think, about 6 states. So what they ask to do is previously, when an engineer would create the parts and the quantities and engineer a job, they would compile the order and then they would send an email to the purchaser that say, hey, I need you to order this, and they would have to get a reply from the purchaser. And it's a lot of, even though it sounds easy, it's just an email, it actually takes a lot of time. So this actions button that's in every list, this has a lot of different features where you can, print the PDF in case you want to give it to somebody, because you can use this as your pricing. This is what your price is, so you could use it as an estimate. You can print the products. You can download this list as a CSV file if you want to import it into a purchasing program that you have. You can upload. You can do all of these things. You can archive the list, which means you get it out of the open and you archive that. You can delete it if it's a mistake or you don't want it. All these. But the one thing I want to show you is this request purchase. So the way we saw this working, this material list import, is because what we have found is if engineers design the job, they create the parts. Whatever time in the future, the purchasing people might go place the job, or place the order, I should say, or even the engineer might place the order. It might be a week after he engineered, or 2 weeks, whatever it might be. How many times have you received a call from the vendor saying, the part number is wrong, or this flow doesn't match the flow meter that you chose, the size is too big, whatever the question is, or you're missing an option. That engineer might not remember what he needed for that. Has to go back to the drawings, open them up, look at what he has, says, oh no, I need a NEMA 4, or you're right, that's not a 6-inch flow meter, it should have been an 8-inch pipe, not a 6-inch. Whatever it is, it disrupts his flow, it disrupts his concentration, it takes time out of his day. The way we saw this program working, the most efficient way is The engineer uploads the bill of materials, corrects all the parts the way they're supposed to be on our site. Then later, whoever places the order, when they place it to Alps Controls, it's perfect. We will not be contacting anyone about a mistake. Nobody's getting interrupted later, a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the line, saying you're missing your enclosure for this, or you're missing your back plate for the enclosure that you have, or whatever it might be. So there's no disruption of flow. So if the engineer corrects everything and he has this list together, maybe he says, okay, I'm ready to order. Maybe the PM wants to order, whoever is in charge of the job. That person can log on Alps Controls, click on this request purchase. And what this does is anybody in your company that has a login to Alps Controls will be found in this pull down window. Again, this is a test site, so there's just a few people here. But all they have to do is collect, okay, here's my purchasing person, or who's the person who's going to place the order. It's Jim. They could put a date. I need this by the 27th, and even a note. Place this order ASAP. Send. From anywhere, from his phone, from his house, from anywhere he can access the Alps Controls website. Then that person who he sent it to will get an email right here saying, hey, Jim, your colleague Jim just requested you to purchase this bill of materials, and he needs it delivered by the 27th. And then here's my note. Please place this order ASAP. The coolest part of this is that purchasing person or whoever's doing this doesn't have to log into Alps Controls and find this project, doesn't have to search anywhere, doesn't have to waste time. All they have to do is click this link, and this will take them directly to this bill of materials. It'll log them in. It'll take them right there, and they just have to hit add to cart, and they're ordering it. How does that look? That, I think, is a pretty cool feature, and that came from a customer of ours. So if you guys have any suggestions, we would love to hear them how to make this even better. But I think that is a really, really cool feature right there. So the last thing I want to show you, which is available on lists, it's available for POs, it's available for RMAs, it's available on the project system, it's available on almost anything on our website, is a pinning feature. This pinning feature, if you have something that is extremely urgent, let's say it's an order, let's say it's this project where you or somebody in your office needs to monitor this, or has to look at this on a daily basis, or has to follow up with this urgently, okay? You can pin something to your home page. It's this pin here. You'll see this on orders. You see this on RMAs, projects, and all that. So if this Heinz field is something that's very urgent, if you pin it, anybody who logs into the Alps Controls website and goes to the home page can access it right here. They don't even have to find it. They can open it. This could be, and what will happen is if you have multiple things pinned, POs, RMAs, projects, material lists, they'll all be in their own separate little area. So this is projects, POs might have been over here, RMAs might be here, whatever it might be. But it's something to put right in front of you because you know it's urgent. Now you can't unpin it here. You have to unpin something back in where it resides. So I have to unpin this, and now it's back to the regular stuff. So I reviewed how easy it is to take a bill of materials from your engineering file directly into the Alps Controls site. I only touched my keyboard when filling in some options on the Onicon. Everything else I did with my mouse. So that eliminates any kind of errors of hand typing anything. I did that in less than 5 minutes, corrected that. Now, granted, you'll probably have more than 2 parts that are not found on our website. But again, if you take the time and initially to correct it on the engineering side and get the correct part number in there, you'll never have to do it again. Any questions? Anybody want to type anything? Everybody still awake? You can always call me if you have any questions on how to use this again, but you can see it's pretty simple, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'd love to run through it with you again. You can give me a call on my cell phone or the office phone. And thanks a lot, everyone. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for your business. Bye.